What is going on, everybody? I hope that everybody is doing well. I have a special video here today because this is going to be the first part in most likely a series that I'm going to be doing, delving deep into Gnostic history and explaining what Gnosticism is, okay? We're basically going to go in depth as much as possible in each of these videos to get the message across for everybody to kind of understand and have a general idea of Gnosticism, Gnosis, the history of it, where it began, and so on and so forth, okay? So without any delay, we're going to get right into it. So Gnosticism at its core is a powerful call to a spiritual awakening through Gnosis, the intimate personal knowledge of hidden truths. Unlike mainstream religious beliefs, which emphasize faith and obedience, Gnosticism emphasizes self-awareness, personal revolution, and mystical experience. Gnostics understood reality as dualistic, the material world viewed as inherently flawed and illusionary versus the spiritual realm of purity and truth. Okay? So, central to Gnostic teachings is a concept of the demiurge. It's a flawed deity who fashioned the material world from not from wisdom or benevolence, but from ignorance and imperfection. According to Gnostics, humanity's true origin is divine, and within each person exists a spark of ultimate divine source, yearning to return to its origin, which is God. Liberation is then found in awakening this inner spark and escaping the illusions crafted by the demiurge or by the world that we live in. The Gnostic lifestyle reflected their profound philosophical commitments. So many Gnostic sects, notably the Cathars and Manichaeans or Machians, practiced asceticism to distance themselves from worldly attachments. Their diet often excluded animal flesh, and many lived lives of rigorous self-discipline. And that means they abstained from marriage also, and childbearing. So they basically didn't want to entrap more souls in the cycle of reincarnation. They believed deeply that the physical body was merely a vessel and death was but an illusion. So it was more of like a passage rather than an end, which means they would just reconnect back with God. And death was actually seen as something desirable by them, to an extent, of course, you know. Historically, Gnosticism emerged prominently in the first 2 centuries, thriving particularly within the diverse intellectual centers of Alexandria, Antioch, Rome, and other cosmopolitan hubs of the ancient world. Its teachings drew from diverse philosophical streams, including Jewish mysticism, early Christian theology, and Greek philosophy. So, one of its most significant and influential early Gnostic teachers was Valentinus, who founded Valentinianism in the 2nd century. And Valentinus, he taught that Christ's mission was not redemption through sacrifice, like how the original Gospels say, but rather an illumination through knowledge. So his followers emphasized direct mystical experience over institutional doctrine, attracting large numbers of adherents across the Roman Empire. And Valentinus, actually, fun fact, he almost became a bishop because in the early first few centuries, Gnosticism wasn't seen as something that is separate from Christianity. It was basically just another sect of Christianity, and it was very well known, and it was a very normal thing before it was viewed as heretical, and before the Roman Orthodox Christianity, you know, decided that it was the only religion for the Roman Empire and wanted to get rid of all the other religions. We're going to get more into that a little bit later. So another key figure was Basilides, whose intricate cosmologies described hierarchies of divine beings and complex narratives depicting humanity's spiritual predicament. So his teachings articulated a sophisticated framework intended to guide seekers towards personal enlightenment and liberation from worldly illusions. However, the very attractiveness of Gnostic teachings and their widespread popularity made them a target of severe persecution by the emerging Christian authorities, which is what I touched upon just now. By the late 2nd century, Powerful bishops such as Irenaeus launched extensive campaigns against Gnostic groups, labeling them dangerous heretics. Irenaeus' influential texts against heresies explicitly condemned Gnostic teachings, marking the beginning of this organized suppression that we're going to see as we get more into this video. This suppression rapidly escalated into outright genocide as the Roman Empire increasingly adopted Orthodox Christianity. By the 4th century, Emperor Theodosius officially decreed Christianity as the state religion, okay, and effectively sanctioning the extermination of all competing spiritual traditions. So not just Gnostics. But the Gnostic groups, such as the Cathars, centuries later in medieval Europe, experienced devastating persecution. In one notorious example, the Albigensian Crusade, launched by Pope Innocent in the early 13th century, systematically eradicated Cathar communities in southern France. Entire villages were razed, thousands of people were massacred mercilessly, burned alive at stakes, tortured, and forcibly converted under threats of death, which is pretty nuts. These brutal crusades were not isolated, and throughout the centuries, Gnostics faced relentless persecution. Their texts and teachings were violently erased, their sacred libraries were burned, and many of the adherents of Gnosticism faced execution methods specifically designed to terrify and dissuade any potential converts. So Gnostics were crucified publicly, impaled along roadways, drowned, buried alive. Families were torn apart. Parents forced to watch their children killed unless they recanted their beliefs. And this brutal suppression sought not merely to silence Gnosticism, but to erase its memory entirely from history. Yet despite centuries of relentless persecution and genocide, Gnostic wisdom survived, hidden, awaiting rediscovery. And the most notable resurgence occurred during the discovery of the Nag Hammadi library, or the Nag Hammadi texts in Egypt, in 1945, which I'm sure a lot of people have probably heard of the Nag Hammadi library and everything like that. So it contained essential Gnostic scriptures like the Gospel of Thomas and the Secret Book of John. And these texts unveiled teachings long hidden, providing unprecedented insights into Gnostic vision, and it reignited the modern spiritual curiosity of Gnosticism, which is why Gnosticism is becoming more popular, and you might hear, or people might identify more with Gnostics' beliefs. So it was pretty much after that moment. So today, as oppressive power structures continue to shape our reality, Gnostic teachings resonate with newfound urgency, especially for me. They remind us that true liberation is always personal, deeply spiritual, and begins with the awakening of our inner divinity. In a world dominated by superficiality, distraction, and control, Gnosticism actually offers a powerful alternative, a call to introspection, awareness, and true spiritual freedom. Gnosticism revolves around a central truth that salvation lies not in faith or in dogma, but in gnosis, which is personal, intuitive knowledge of divine reality that's within every single person. The Gnostic Gospels, uncovered at the Nag Hammadi library, provide powerful narratives illustrating this truth vividly and poetically. And it's actually a goal of mine to, read the Gospel of Thomas, and I'm going to make a separate video on that when I do, because there's even there's a very illuminating text that a lot of people that talk about the Gospel of Thomas emphasize, and there's a lot of emphasis around personal enlightenment through Jesus's cryptic messages. Unlike traditionally in biblical texts, Thomas presents Jesus as a mystical teacher who guides his followers towards self-realization. And there's a powerful saying that I want to present to you guys here. If you bring forth what is within you, what you have will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you. And this captures the essence of Gnostic belief, that the divine spark within must be recognized and expressed, or else one remains enslaved to ignorance and spiritual death. So ultimately, the narrative of Gnosticism presents a radically different understanding of existence, one in which the quest for truth, wisdom, and self-awareness take precedence, over obedience to external authorities. It calls upon each person to recognize their innate divinity, challenging the deceptive structures of worldly power, and embark upon the personal truth of spiritual liberation. Thus, the Gnostic story isn't simply ancient mythology, it's an ever relevant call to awakening, urging humanity to reclaim their birthright as beings of infinite spiritual potential, united in their quest for Gnosis. And with that being said, I really feel that I want to be a part of this revival of Gnosticism, because my whole life I've always had these spiritual beliefs, and they were always taken from many different things. And I've never found a spiritual belief that resonates with me as much as Gnosticism does. So I hope that the people watching feel that resonance as well, and you guys kind of will be here with me on this journey as we kind of like discover or rediscover Gnosticism and delve deeper into the history, the philosophy of it, how we could apply it in our modern lives. But yeah, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I want, if you guys have any questions, or if you want me to dive into a specific part of the story or the history, or if you want me to talk about something specific, leave it in the comments below. If you guys like the video, I would also appreciate a like. And if you would like to see more content like this, I do a lot of spiritual content, philosophical content. We do a lot of gaming, so if you guys like gaming and streaming, I stream almost every night around 11-12 p.m. Not every night, but almost every night. I'm not perfect. And in the future, we will also be doing fitness content, so I'm going to be basically helping you guys with fitness through a holistic and very like in a biohacking way. I want to give people the best possible fitness advice they could ever receive in their life, but that's not, that's coming soon. So if you guys like any of that, I'd really appreciate it. Subscribe. And yeah, with that being said, I will see everybody in the next video. I love you all, and take care.